So, dear people, I have a nice, positive surprise. Yeah, what can I say? You can guess 3 times. If there is an update from Rainer Fulmich now, then it would be fitting that, Rainer is on the phone and you won't believe it. Yes, it is so. Rainer, hello?
Hello, Jose. Hello, everyone.
That's what we were missing. I can tell you that. I've always had to play it from a recording until now, and now, we're hearing this live, and that's really, really great. People are really happy just to hear your voice. Basically, how are you doing, Rainer?
Aside from the fact that I'm currently in prison, I'm actually doing quite well, all things considered.
Well, I mean, you might have to add, all things considered, of course. But, I'm always amazed at how you handle it, because it's been 20 months now, and, being held in pretrial detention while innocent, and you still sound, how should I put it, optimistic and very strong.
That has a lot to do with the fact that I know I'm innocent, of course, and that this is a political trial. All of this will come out now. But just knowing that doesn't really help if you have to assume you might have to stay in here for the next 10 years. At least, that's what the other side, the dark side, you could say, is trying to do. They won't succeed, but that's what they're planning. That's why they keep coming up with new accusations. But what really keeps me going is, first of all, that I'm involved in my own defense work, not just tactically, step by step, but also strategically. And of course, I have this incredible, I'm not sure anything like this has ever happened before, this incredible support from the public, from the international community, and of course from my family. Without this support, I'd be finished. I'm pretty sure about that, because the goal was definitely to break me by any means necessary, with all the measures we've described many times before, including this so-called white torture. And that hasn't worked, and it won't work either.
Yeah, you mentioned that once, and it actually surprised me in a good way back then, because you used to be less, how should I put it, less into the whole spiritual thing, but together with Inca, that's changed a bit lately. You once said that you feel like you can sense this energy coming from outside.
Yeah, that's, quite strange, because if someone had honestly told me that particular thing, I would have definitely said, take your medications and you'll be perfectly fine. But that's actually how it is. It probably started even earlier, because this ranch we bought up in Northern California, it's on a really, really large piece of land that was mostly used by Native Americans, who used to wait on the hill where the house stands now, for the buffalo, or later on, the antelope, but also the buffalo. And, there was a Native American who was still there. He would help us out from time to time, whenever I flew to Germany for, some court appointment. He would look after the dogs then. Like many of these people, he had a rough childhood, a problem with alcohol, but he still remembered some of the things that kept him going, the spiritual things he experienced with the Native Americans. He remembered those, and he shared a bit about them. We also found arrowheads on our property, and it was always like this. When I went out there in the morning, it was a really wide valley. We could see for 10 miles before any hill appeared. When I sat there in the mornings and looked off into the distance, I always remembered that the Native Americans had been here, and the thing about the Great Spirit, and that we are all connected to everything, especially to nature, and then also to ourselves. That always convinced me. So, the so-called religions, that was never really my thing, especially since all the churches failed during Corona. But the idea of the Native Americans, I thought that was great, because there wasn't all that compulsion and you must not, and get down on your knees for me. They don't know any of that nonsense. And that probably already started back then. But through Corona, it became clearer and clearer. And now, in this situation, even more so. I would be done for if I didn't get this spiritual support from outside, from all of you.
Yes, the support goes even further. One part is the energy, but the other is the letters you receive. There are, you could almost say, tons of them. It's unbelievable what you... I even showed those packages once. I took photos of them. Is it still like that?
Yes, it's actually gotten even more. I've been getting mail all the time, and suddenly one box full of letters after another arrives, because it all had to be forwarded here from Rosdorf, where it was originally addressed. That took a little while, but suddenly these things are arriving by the boxful. I can only tell you, I read everything. I'm happy about every single one. Sometimes there are really amazing pictures included. Ew. Some people tell the absolute funniest jokes. Honestly, you can't even imagine it. Maybe they're not being shared anywhere else these days, and I've just gone completely crazy. But sometimes I sit here and laugh myself silly at the brilliant jokes people send in. That's great.
Yeah, it's of course wonderful to hear, because I think, well, first of all, can you actually read all of it? Luckily, you also have the time, and you try, not always possible, but you try to reply to many people. I've also heard people say, I got a message from Rainer, and it was so lovely. And of course, there are probably a lot of moving stories among them, and I can imagine that it's not just touching stories, but probably also information that's helpful for you, so that when you're out again, you can just keep going.
Yes, there are also people among them whom I've already worked with outside, people I've interviewed, who not only express their solidarity, but also offer their help. But it has to be the right moment for that. Above all, we want to achieve my freedom through so-called normal means. So, not through violence. I think that would be the worst thing that could happen, but there are plenty of people who want to help me with that. But one thing is certain for me. Help yourself and God will help you. That's the saying, and I take it seriously. I know I can do it on my own with your help, but I have to take action myself, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm always doing something. I can't talk about it right now, but it's true that there is some really helpful information among the things and stories people tell me. Also, some terrible stories about how society and families have become divided, and how, at least in some places, people are now experiencing more and more people getting sick and more people dying at an age where you wouldn't even begin to expect it.
Yes, of course, what's happening in the world right now is tragic. Not just in Germany, but especially in Germany. It's just unbelievable. You get to see some of it yourself. You have, well, you can't really call it luck. It's almost more like I feel sorry for you. You have these mainstream, channels that you can watch. It's probably always easy to endure what they show there.
That's a really good point. You're right about that. So there are a lot of bad channels on here. But for me now, when I talk to the others here as well, it seems to me that when I see and hear people like Mr. Merck and others, it's as if they're actually afraid themselves, first of all, of being found out. We all look really guilty, and that's especially true for Mr. Klingbeil. But on the other hand, it's also as if these so-called performances are happening for just 10 or 20 viewers. I don't get the impression that the majority of Germans, or even most German-speaking people, are still interested at all in what's going on there. On the contrary, from the reactions I see and get from sources other than the mainstream media, I can tell that most people, and I don't think there are any exceptions at the moment, consider this group, well, at best to be amateur actors, and at worst to be mere puppets.
Yes, absolutely. All right, just give me a second. Now I have to quickly change clothes. There's a little surprise. You can't see it, but I'll describe it briefly. One moment. I'll be right back with you. Because I forgot about it. I've got it now. It's about a t-shirt. I got a t-shirt.
Oh no.
Free Rainer Fulmich with your face on it. And I'm going to wear it today because I forgot about it. Now I can put it on. So I'm wearing the t-shirt now. Free Rainer Fulmich, and they're working on it too. You know that you can check it out. That you could also order this t-shirt if you want to. And that's also something. There are a lot of people supporting you with different actions. By the way, don't forget the vigil. There were 81 people at the vigil.
You don't know? I know that the staff noticed it too, by the way. All of them, I haven't experienced a single exception, have been very friendly to me here. And, I know they were impressed. When they found out it was happening, they watched it. You can see what happened outside on the screen, but there were only positive reactions.
That's of course nice to hear, and we'll see if we can probably do this monthly, and then it might be that more and more people will come. There was a very peaceful atmosphere, and that's exactly what you've always said. We'll manage this peacefully, no violence, and, we'll handle this differently than people usually imagine. And that was always your credo, and you can see that in the people who support you. I've never seen any aggression, in all the negotiations or anywhere else.
No, That was staged. Because no one can understand. If I had stolen, embezzled, or misappropriated 700,000 euros, then the sentence that came out of this would be completely out of proportion, right? That's effectively 4 years and 2 months. And we know that too. Of course, they also know that a kidnapping doesn't fit the picture. This sentence doesn't fit, and neither does the changing of the charges. And if you compare it to maybe similar cases, well, maybe. Then, for example, there's the story of Uli Hoeneß. Nobody abroad knows him, but in Germany, everyone does. He evaded 28.5 million euros in taxes, and unlike me, he never intended to pay it back. So, key point, willing and able to pay it back. That was never the case. And for that, he got 3 years and 6 months. After a year, he was in open prison, which meant during the week, I think he could coach or work with the youth team of Bayern Munich. And on weekends, he could be with his wife. And after half the sentence, he was out. That's called serving half the sentence. That's not to be expected in my case, because they have no intention of letting me out. I don't know. They'll always come up with something new, but we're better.
That's a really good statement. Maybe one more question about the Bremervord prison. If I understood correctly, there are some things that are better there.
Yes, there are definitely some things that are better here. The most interesting thing is that I can actually make phone calls here. So I actually have a telephone here in my cell, and I could even make calls all night if I wanted to. Of course, you don't actually do that, because you also want to have some time to think. I spend the whole day typing at my typewriter.
Yeah.
Sometimes working on my case. There's something coming up now, too. You'll all find out about it. And, of course, I just filled up 15 pages again with replies to letters, which then get sent off to our brilliant team. And then, outside, these are either turned into letters or emails, if we have email addresses. I try to do as much as I can, but I can't manage everything. I do read everything, but I can't get to it all. So the biggest advantage is being able to make phone calls. You really have to say that. And the food is better, you enjoy it more.
Well, food is an important part. If you only get junk food, that's obviously nice to hear, because how about sports? Are you still staying active?
Yeah, I have. I've been waiting since the 4th, and that's 3 months ago now.
Yeah.
To join a running group. But before that, you have to pass a running test, a running assessment. And I'm just letting that come up slowly now. During the day here, there's not much to do in the cell. It's 8 square meters, so you can try to stay fit with some stretching so you don't end up stumbling around like an old man afterwards. But there.
Push-ups.
Options. Push-ups. Sure, that works. So everyone thinks I'm about 50 and they're surprised, right? But I explained to them that. Actually, anyone could manage that. But right now, I'd say I'm in at least very good physical shape. I mean, I could get on a surfboard right now and just take off, I think.
Wow, that sounds good. By the way, we could think about announcing something at a certain point so people know that you might be live. Because right now, after all, there are 2,100 people watching live, and I think if we announce it, there will be even more. That would be an idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We can definitely do that. We'd be more than happy to do that.
People will be happy.
That way you have the connection. Yeah, great.
Because I think it's just different when people hear you maybe just making a statement, and that's usually about the case. But if we could just have a phone call together, not always just about the case, but also just you as Rainer for me, I'm sure people would really enjoy that.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that.
Rainer, let's leave it at that for now. I want to thank you very much. It was a real pleasure to hear from you, and I'm sure the community feels the same way. So let's stay in touch and see what happens in the next few days.
Thank you, Roger, and thank you all for this incredible support. It will carry us on this wave all the way to the finish.
See you soon.
Okay, see you then.
Bye.